So I think some people are under the misunderstanding that this is just about honky men. It's not. We're going to be talking about honky heifers and the womb of Satan. Okay. And basically, it gives kind of a blueprint on how the honkies everywhere contribute, and I'll show you in a minute. But first, my series of worshiping the written words of black people, specifically black women, the donations have provided the continuance of this series and also the safety and protection from the wild honkies here in Portland. Okay. And also a place where I can recover from the diabetes overexposure. All right. Without those donations, I have limited protection from the honkies. All right. And when we're looking at the wombs of Satan, we have to remember that the written words is how white obedience is spread. Okay. And I consider these honkies the first clan. Okay. They were intellectually violent. Now, we got to start with some definitions, and these are words I learned from this book, and I'm just going to tell you about them. So, people obsessed with the English honkies, and these are people who don't like the English honkies. Those people who claim to be Anglo-Saxon and shit, this is what they're suffering from. They wish they were. They aren't. They're just American honkies. Okay. And romanticism is going on at this time, and basically it's just their imagination, how I perceive it. And then also it brings in transcendental shit. So transcendentalists basically believe the powers is within yourselves, and it promotes individualism. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You don't need a community. Okay. And this is the kind of writing I guess she did and others did at that time, and I just learned this too. Works of literature that are beautiful and good in an artistic way. I think that's really gaslighting. At least that's how I feel. Okay. Just an outside source, basic summary of her. A man protected her. Her husband had protection for her because of his status. The side piece is someone powerful, so she had access to power. Like y'all be popping that thing for that power, don't you? Huh, Huckers? I have to say, black women are geniuses. Two words describe you honky heifers perfectly. Fair belt. German thinkers, the racist, to everybody else in the world. United States, the Frenchy honkies, the British honkies, all of them. She spread that honky shit. Before she was popping that thing, her mama was. So she came from a very powerful family because of the father's identity and status. As to power. So her parents paid some honky to marry her, and he fucked all that money up. Okay. Squandered it, and she was like, I don't give a fuck. I still got other shit to do, other places to go. The chateau. I did read somewhere she popped out like 3 kids. I don't know if they were boy honkies or girl honkies, but spawns of Satan nonetheless, likely. Okay. She also had land here in America. She was told to buy some land over here in America. Just an example of the circle of honkies that she was friends with. DuPont, governor here, and Jefferson was her homie. Remember, he was in Paris. Well, he used to hang out at her crib and probably get drunk and shit. We know he didn't like the honky heifers. Okay. A little bit about him in a second, but this guy, Governor, this is what he said. He contributed that to the United States Constitution. Of her writings, and she's basically talking about examines the literatures of Italy, France, and Germany, because Germany was only just becoming visible as a source of interesting literature. German intellectuals appreciated notice from a representative of French letters, even in exile. So, because she was French, they're like, oh, we like this shit. Or thank you, or whatever. Dankeschön. This is the book everybody loved, everybody read. Napoleon didn't like it. He tried to destroy it, but, you know, she was a smart honker. Okay. And that's why he didn't like her and a lot of other men. Basically, all the honker shit that those men were writing, she repeats it. in the book because she's learning from him. She's in that circle. And the relationships with these men were really transactional. She wrote some good shit about them, and then in turn they were like, "Oh, this is good." As we talked about before, that racist honky didn't really give too much shits about her. Said she talked too much, and he said she only praised him because when she was drunk. So white women build the ego of white men to get what they want. See, I read this honky shit, and I don't plan to, but this book was a link between German and non-German intellectuals, noting Germans descending from the Greek, the book sword, and Americans saying its praises, mysticism and enthusiasm. God is introduced Americans what would be known as transcendentalism. First copy in London sold out in 3 days. It inspired pamphlets that traveled throughout Germany. The Wolfgang Hockey that we talked about earlier, he actually divided Saxonies into 3 different groups. And de Salle calls him a genius in the book, so he would promote it. Saxony is where the American Hockeys get lost in. The third Saxony, the mythical homeland of the medieval Saxons of England, lay on the western side of the Germans' land, off between Denmark and the Netherlands on the North Sea. This third obscure Saxony towered in importance only in the minds of British and American Anglo-Saxons. Honkers. Hockey women have to create fictional characters based on themselves. So these books basically said were about autobiographical heroines who soar intellectually and emotionally, but must eventually fall victim to their limitations as women. The name Corinne symbolizes a smart, independent-minded woman who's controlled by hockey men, I guess. Basically saying Americans ain't shit because of slavery. Exactly what she's saying, but that's my Whitebee's interpretation. In Europe, you honkies were trying to divide each other up, and this is how she divided you guys up. Latin, German, and Slav. Like the other honky men, climate, government, language, and history creates their race. Latins were endowed with earthly interests and pleasure. Or Teutonic people grown more adept at abstract thought than Latins and more deeply marked by medieval chivalry. And the Slavic people, the Polish people, and the Russians were just stupid, basically. I didn't say it. I didn't say none of that. That's what this honky said. Okay. American honky heifers were saying that she's just this amazing woman, so honky heifers believe that shit, even though she probably wasn't talking about how wonderful you were. Okay. Europeans thought Southern honkies were cannibals, and same with the Northern honkies. They thought the Southern honkies were cannibals. I'll fuck you guys up. She gaslit you honkies. Describes stale as most transparent whiteness. Transparency to whiteness. Pink, blue, and gray. Honky shit basically may signify an idea of perfect whiteness in language, but it has little to do with actual physical appearance. She doesn't seem to be easy on the eyes for the most part, at least in my opinion. But they do say that she was smart, beauty, but was smart. Another honky man, she ought to have been a man. And then Napoleon detested that woman after reading her book, Corinne. It's so loud. See? Loud like car horns, honky heifers. Politics and why she wasn't welcome in France was because she was opposition to tyranny, defense of unlimited freedom of speech, and of course she was outspoken. Before it happened, she could just run, and her social status basically attracted trouble because she was more liberal. She was going to come to America, but Jefferson and other honkies told her not to because Americans were just too stupid. That shit. She was addicted to opium. Fragile health, see. Fragile health. Good enough for her. See. The Americans said, no, you're too good for over here, honkies. Western intellectuals saw the United States as a way to spread their honky shit.